We are back again. Hello, I'm Chris.
And I'm Melody.
And this is our podcast where we talk about Disney movies and drink tea. I forgot the name of our podcast for a second.
Can you hear the pod tonight?
Can you hear the pod tonight? Ooh. We sound good. All right, Melody, what tea are we drinking today?
You are drinking this Yogi bedtime tea.
Yogi Bear?
Yogi as in a yoga person.
Oh, okay.
Like meditation.
Oh, yes, there's a little saying on the tab.
A proverb.
May this day be the day to lead us to peace and to happiness and to joy.
Yes, yours has valerian root and all this other weird vitamins in it, so I'm curious if as we're doing the podcast you're just gonna conk over and fall asleep.
If I start to slur my words towards the end of this, then pay no attention.
What did you give me?
What was in my tea?
And I'm just drinking your basic mint medley Bigelow tea, nothing fancy.
Wasn't super in the mood for mint tonight.
You're never in the mood for mint.
Well, mint just makes me think of brushing my teeth.
Okay.
Or peppermints that I like to eat during church or something.
Well, then what's wrong with drinking liquid peppermint?
Because I'm not in church.
So you have to be in church. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You do your thing. I'll do mine.
All right. Well, today we are talking about another Disney classic. This week we are discussing 1955's Lady and the Tramp. Mm-hmm. Did you know this was from 1955?
I did not. I think you mentioned that after we had finished it, and I was like, oh, really? I just never thought about it, but now I guess thinking about, the house structure, the clothing.
Well, it takes place in, the early 1900s, 1910.
Bah.
Something like that.
Well, excuse me.
If it was 1950s, they'd be living in the suburbs. There'd be some more modernism.
So when did Peter Pan, when was that filmed? Was that the same era?
That also came out in the 50s.
Okay,
yeah.
Maybe that's why I'm just thinking, because it had this kind of some of the...
I feel like that also takes place in, the late 1900s, though.
Yeah, it does take place in the late 1900s, but, the animation style and,
Yes, very similar.
Yeah, it just kind of reminded me of that.
Yeah, if you look at all of the Disney films in the 1950s, they... that's really, I feel like they call it the...
It represents 1950s ideals, I think. Even though it's set in the 1900s,
Right.
Kind of it presents America in a...
Yes. We'll get into that. This movie is very Americana. But what I was saying is, the Disney films of the 1950s, this one definitely included. This is called, I think, the Bronze Age. So it's kind of Disney, still putting on, very impressive looking movies. They haven't quite gone into the 60s where they're doing some different animation styles and
oppressive,
a little bit more scruffy.
There's a code to how you animate it in the 50s, almost this is the Disney way.
Well, there was a way that they did it, and it was a way that Walt liked it. Mm-hmm. The drawings were very clean. Mm-hmm. This is kind of get a little specific with technical stuff, and I didn't brush up on this, so I'm probably going to get some things wrong at some point. But how they did it was they drew their drawings, and then they'd send them over to get cleaned up, and then the ink and painters would ink and paint the drawings.
Yeah.
And then basically they had a system basically where by the time it got to film, it was very, very cleaned up. There was no pencil marks on it or anything like that. It looked very polished.
Yes.
Like the films in the 50s do. But by the time you get to 101 Dalmatians, Robin Hood, those films, they're actually doing less cleanup, and they're doing a sort of direct drawing onto film type of scan.
It's more illustrative type of style.
Yeah. So, and Walt didn't really like that style. Once they kind of went into it, they had to go into it because it was cheaper, and the studio got low on funds when it came to making films. But this was the 1950s. They're still doing really well. Let's kind of get into it. Lady and the Tramp, about two dogs who fall in love. This is 1955, so Walt Disney is knee-deep in trying to open Disneyland. Indeed. And Walt Disney actually had very little involvement in this movie. he was really, really distracted with Disneyland and kind of lost interest in films and animation at this point. So he like barely contributed hardly anything other than I think the sort of basic idea of let's make a movie about dogs.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, like, is this like the first non-human love relationship in a Disney movie before? Or is there other animal romances?
I'd have to think about it, but this definitely does feel like the first...
Like, the main characters are the dogs. Other movies, it's like the humans are the main... defaulted to humans, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, other than, like, you know, Mickey Mouse, which is technically a mouse.
Yeah, of course. But I mean, as far as, like, a big motion picture.
No, but, well, Mickey Mouse is a very humanoid type of mouse. He wears clothes. And
these are very dog.
Has a dog pet. Where this is very, like, sort of what becomes a template, I think, for a style of Disney film where, it is very sort of like animal-centric. Mm-hmm. And the humans have their world. They don't talk to humans, but the dogs have their own world.
Yeah, we don't even see, like, the humans' faces. It just shows, like, their ankles.
Yeah, that was a really interesting style.
Yeah, it's like the dog's perspective is what we see.
Yeah, we're basically seeing everything through the dog's perspective. And I always thought this was cute that the lady, the dog, our lead dog character... like she thinks that her like master's names are Jim, Dear, and Darling because that's what they call each other. That's really cute. Something I didn't get as a kid, but
so
it's
cute,
very cute now. So did you watch this movie a lot growing up?
I think I watched it a few times, maybe at like friends' houses. It was just kind of like on like it was never like one that I like would wanna. I don't think we owned this one because we owned some of them. It's like I like would watch some of those movies just like once a week probably.
yeah
like Pocahontas.
Yeah,
those kinds of
we gotta do Pocahontas at some point.
We do, because I talk about it a lot. But yeah, I mean, I did like it. I always enjoyed the cat scene growing up just because I know but like just it had a catchy little song, and I really liked cats as a kid. I liked cats more than dogs. When I was like about second grade, I decided that I would not like cats anymore because there was this girl in my second grade class that had, no joke, she had a mullet haircut before they were cool, and even for like a little girl.
It was the 90s.
Yeah, and she just was like freakishly obsessed with cats, and I was like, ugh. That girl, like, I don't want to be like her, so I decided not to like cats anymore, and so then after that it was, rabbits maybe.
Rabbits. Moved on from cats to rabbits. We graduated.
But anyway, I liked the cat scene, I liked the little music, and now, like, looking at it now, we're like, oh, that scene's definitely has some problems with it.
Yeah, I didn't really watch this one a ton growing up. I did not, I'm like you, I did not own this. But I think some like it's funny, like we had the Disney movies that we owned, and then like the friends of my family that we would go on vacation with, they had the Disney movies that they owned. And I remember they owned like Robin Hood and Lady and the Tramp and Sword in the Stone, and I would always watch those when I would go over to their house. Yeah. So like I almost contribute those to their house. And so they owned that one, and I would go and I would watch it sometimes when I was go and visit them, but I did not watch this one a lot growing up, but I did see like the musical numbers a lot and I've talked about this on the podcast a lot, but those Disney VHS tapes that were the sing-alongs that just had the songs, those were like so integral to my childhood because I would watch those a bunch, and you would just see the song
and
parts.
It's funny that you liked those because whenever I would see previews for stuff like that, it'd be like melody time. That's just completely different than what you have, but just like any little sing-along thing, and it just was like, no.
Why not? No?
Because I didn't like I enjoyed watching Disney movies, but like the songs for movies like that, it was almost like the first step to like what a theater kid is like singing along to like a movie song. That was never my thing as a kid because I thought it was cheesy and just like, I guess I was always kind of a dark soul. I was like,
come with me to the woods.
I was sarcastic, like Aubrey Plaza.
Well, I wouldn't like sing along with them. I would just watch them a bunch.
You don't have. It's okay if you did. No, I'm sure they were cute looking back. Because I mean, of course, I didn't even like puppets as a kid, and you liked them.
That's true.
It's because I was suspicious of anything that was like marketed towards kids. Like, but at the same time, I watched. So.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So yeah, I wasn't super like familiar with this one. I don't have like strong memories of it. So rewatching it now was interesting. One thing that really struck me is that we talked about how this takes place in like the early 1900s, and so that's like when Walt Disney grew up. And since this movie was kind of the seed, was his idea, sort of. I wonder how much of that was like influence. Like, I want this movie to be like this. I want it to have this sort of look to it. Like, there's a scene where like Tramp, the male dog character, is like walking around to different restaurants down this main street, and it looks like Disneyland. Like, it looks like Main Street USA. It's very stylized, very idealized, you know, this sort of like Americana type of thing. So I thought that was really interesting. Another thing that comes right from Walt Disney is the very beginning of the movie is, you know, we see Jim Deere and Darling, and it's Christmas time, and he gives her Lady, the dog, but he gives it to her in this hat box.
Inside a box. So the box was like...
With no holes in it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So it's something they just did back then. Who knows?
Yeah. Well, which other reason I bring that up is because apparently Walt Disney actually did this.
Oh my!
He gave his wife a dog, in a puppy in a hat box as a gift one time. Apparently she was like mad at first because she thought he had bought a hat without consulting her. But it was just a puppy, and so they kind of like incorporated that into the story. But yeah, so that struck me. Another thing that struck me is just how kind of like low key this movie is.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. It's kind of just like follows casually like the story of the dogs, like upper class or middle class.
Yeah, Letty is very uptown.
She is very uptown. Yes, an uptown girl.
Tramp remarks at how like nice and high scale the neighborhood is that she lives in.
He kind of pokes fun at it, like they're trapped in their little like fences and cages, and they're not truly free. So he's always trying to get her to live on the wild side with him and show her like how she could really be living. Yeah,
which I always thought of this movie as being like a I can change him narrative.
Well, he wants to change her too.
Yeah, but it kind of ends up that way because he ends up
he does end up selling out. But then they have cute little puppies at the end.
They do. And just like in real life, all the girl puppies look like her and all the boy puppies look like him.
That's how it is. When you were talking about the town earlier, how it looked like Disney, and I was thinking of all the little restaurants. It's funny how they kept going to the Italian restaurant. I think we were commenting on this when we were watching it, but they're like, oh, look, he's brought a date. Like, they have this relationship with Tramp because he comes by a lot. And they set up this elaborate table for them and have, like, these musicians playing for the dogs. And we're like, what's happening to, like, the human customers in there? Are they like, where's our food? Like, excuse us, we're serving dogs out here. Can't you see?
Yeah, that was really funny because the I guess the owner or whatever, the head chef of the restaurant and his other guy, the skinnier guy, by the way, voiced by the same guy. We've seen him pop up in a couple other movies. He was
it
Smee.
Luigi?
Maybe he was Smee.
Like typical Italian.
He was Smee and Peter Pan. Yeah, he's like, Luigi, dogs don't talk. He's talking to me. Which I thought that was really funny. But yeah, they just drop everything that they're doing. Maybe it's the end of the night and like all the customers have gone.
Maybe, yeah.
But yeah, we're just picturing a scenario where they're dropping everything and like serving these dogs in the alleyway, and meanwhile the customers are inside the restaurant like, where the hell is our food? They come out to the back alley. You gave our spaghetti to a dog.
It's funny.
So yeah, this is like really kind of like, yeah, a very low-key kind of romance movie where it's very much just like scenes of them talking, having conversations. They kind of go on their little date.
And all of this is happening, I guess, like the owners go off on a vacation. Well, let's see. No, first they have the baby. We can't forget all of that. It's like, the baby. She's like, what is a baby?
What's a baby?
Yeah.
I was struck by how much I thought that Lady's voice didn't really match what she looked like.
Really? I thought it kind of did.
Okay. Maybe she just sounded like a bit older to me.
Oh, yeah, probably.
She has a little bit of an older, almost like raspy, probably smokes a lot voice.
Yeah, she did, but it kind of sounded like, I don't know, like a Farrah Fawcett type of thing, maybe. I don't know. Maybe just because her ears look like flowy hair to me.
Does, yeah. Very intentional.
Yeah.
Yeah. I liked the whole beginning of Lady being a puppy and them like being like, oh, we're going to be firm with her and she's going to sleep downstairs. And of course, Lady barking in the movie made our dog bark.
Oh gosh, yeah, that was awful. Like, yeah, because Lydia, our dog, she barks at everything. Especially dogs on TV.
Yeah. But I was wondering if it was even really a dog barking in the movie or if it was like a person doing a bark.
She would only respond to certain dogs that were barking in the movie. Other types of barks she wouldn't respond to.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, then the movie has different little side characters. We have a cute little Scotty dog. And,
Jacques.
Yes, then we have a basset hound, I believe.
I think so.
Yeah, and he they say he lost his sense of smell and was in the war or something.
That's kind of what I don't think so, but
no,
that's
but it's sad. That's kind of what it almost makes it seem like he's an old vet, like if he would be a human.
Yeah.
But then they're all like her little friends and kind of almost like her big brothers. It feels like and they try to be protective of her because Tramp comes by and they're like, "Who's this guy?" Like trying to sweep Lady off her paws.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty cute. Like, I thought the romance kind of angle was handled pretty well, especially like for the time as well. At the same time, there's like, I guess the reason it didn't like stick with me as much as a kid is because there's not a lot of like high stakes.
Yeah, it's nothing really like for. Usually, kids tend to latch on to things that they can personally relate to. So like as a young girl, I would be like, ooh, like I want to be like this princess or that kind of thing. Like you're like, Ninja Turtles or you're
right. It feels fairly adult. Like the relationships with the dogs and everything that kind of goes on with them, with her kind of coming along with him for a little while and him showing her like how he lives, and then her kind of being betrayed when he runs off and she ends up in the pound.
Yeah, and then like the situation of like a baby coming into the picture, and like that's nothing that I mean, maybe some kids know that, but I didn't really. But yeah, our dog is currently chewing a bone at our feet, so we apologize for any background noise that may be happening.
But yeah, it feels like very sort of just adult and not very sort of pandering, I feel like, to kids.
I mean, the only thing as a kid, it might be just liking the animals, being like, oh, pretty scene, like... Pretty much, yeah. Dogs, like, I liked just looking at the animals. But...
I remember feeling like very sort of like this movie felt kind of soothing. Like, this very much feels like a movie you'd fall asleep to. Yes. Like, as a kid, you'd be like, okay, we'll put the movie in and we'll just kind of like...
I feel like the main part of this movie that people just think of is just... Maybe it was even in, like, the little preview for it was, like, Lady and Tramp sharing the spaghetti and then having, like, a little accidental kiss by
that is a
the
very
same
cute
noodle.
Yeah, that's a very good scene. It's very cute. I don't know if I talked about this, but I love all the choral singing in like early Disney movies.
Yes.
It's a lot of choral singing in like this and Peter Pan and Bambi.
That has the comforting effect, that type of...
It does. It's very nostalgic and has a very sort of like soothing, like someone singing you to sleep almost. This is the night.
Due to the night. What if we like reenacted their date, but like as humans?
We could have some spaghetti. And then share one long noodle.
I don't know if I want to do that.
It doesn't sound as romantic when you kind of put it that way. It sounds kind of gross, actually.
It does.
All right, let me check my notes here. Let me see what we got.
I feel like we've probably covered a lot.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about the cat scene too.
Oh
too
gosh,
much.
yeah, you're like, let's just not talk about that.
Well, yeah. Okay, what can we say? It's problematic. And it doesn't really even need to be there. I mean, I guess the joke is that they are Siamese cats.
They're like
so they are
the
Siamese.
nanny or whatever that lady was that was coming by to like babysit.
It was the grandma. I think.
Grandma, yeah, she was like taking the cat side and not taking.
She's a cat
ladies.
person.
Yes,
definitely not a dog person. She's immediately like, "What are you doing here
like,
in the baby's room?"
Babies, and then like the cats are like terrorizing the fish and screwing the house up, and she just blames it on the dog.
Typical sort of viewpoint of cats being conniving and evil and schemers, and dogs being like innocent. Just a
doting old woman, caring lady.
But do you still like the song, the Siamese?
It had a fun little
it's not a bad song.
Chimes and stuff. I mean, but it gets stuck in your head, like. After watching that, I was like, oh gosh, don't let this be stuck in my head for like a month. So.
I like the Tramp song, too.
He is a champ.
Yep.
That one.
Peggy Lee.
Now that girl, like those dogs in the pound, like they looked like ruffians. Like about the whole like smoking thing.
Yeah.
The voice, like
yeah,
that
you
one
can almost imagine her, the Peggy
human.
Lee dog, like smoking. Yeah. She doesn't, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, she almost looked like she had like a black eye or something. Like she was like battered.
And this is random, but I wonder if like Disney movies played a part in like, I'm sure other adults or other people experience this too. Like you see a person, you're like, this person kind of looks like this animal or this thing, and it's like maybe like we just think that because we've seen Disney movies that like anthropomorphize animals into humans. So it's like they like combine humanistic qualities with animals, and so then you're like, because no joke, I just literally remember this right now. In college, I had a sociology teacher that looked like the Tramp.
He looked like the Tramp?
He did, but not in like a good way, you know, not like, oh, like he had like a weird mustache that was great.
Mustache?
Yes, and he had like a weird like, I don't know, he just had a quality about him, and I was like, this dude looks like the dog from Lady and the Tramp.
Huh.
But if I were to like say that to somebody, they'd be like, what is wrong with you?
Well, do you feel like this film, like, I don't know, like I don't feel like people really, I don't think this is one that people really go back to or rewatch a whole lot.
Hey, the lady I saw at the gas station had a lady tattoo on her arm.
Well, it's weird. I feel like the imagery from this movie,
but probably
sticks with people.
Yes.
But the movie itself, I don't know.
Nobody's gonna go back and actually watch it unless like Disney Plus or something's like, here's this content that our algorithm is putting forward for you to watch.
Well, I mean, like, I feel like people remember it and it's thought of as like, oh yeah, that's like a Disney classic, and like the imagery of Lady and everything, I feel like really sticks with people. But I don't know if it's one that people really sort of like rewatch a lot. I feel like it's like the Audrey Hepburn of Disney movies, where people have like posters of it and are like, oh yeah, that's a vibe, but they don't actually rewatch the movie maybe.
You're probably right. You're probably right with that.
I don't know. I just don't hear a lot of people be like, oh, Lady and the Tramp, we love that one.
Hey, people probably would jump to watch that one over Pinocchio, though.
Okay, fair enough.
I would definitely.
You giving me crap again about picking Pinocchio as the first one?
No, I think I'm the one that wanted to watch it as the first one.
Okay, as we, it's funny, as we record this, that new Pinocchio movie is coming out, the Disney one.
Gosh,
the Disney remake.
Yeah.
I hope it bombs really bad. I hope it bombs really hard.
Go watch it.
I don't know anyone who's excited about it, so I hope it just. it just tanks.
I'm excited about it. I don't know about you.
The Disney one?
Just kidding.
No, I'll go see the.
It looks like a cursed nightmare.
I'll see the Guillermo del Toro one.
Oh yeah,
that one looks good. Yeah, that one we'll definitely go see. Our Del Toro boy. Mm-hmm. Well, this movie did get a live action remake.
Oh, I never saw that.
Nope, no one did. I think this was I'd have to look this up, but I think the Lady and the Tramp remake live action version was early COVID release, so it just went straight to Disney Plus.
I think you're right.
Either that or they were like, this isn't gonna make enough money in the movie theater, so they just send it right to Disney Plus anyway.
Yeah.
But it was like early, like when they announced Disney Plus, they were like, and also a live action Lady and the Tramp movie will be included on there. Don't know a single person who's watched that movie.
We've probably had some students that have.
Okay. Well, you should ask them what they thought about it.
I don't know. It's funny because they'll be like, Miss Pistol, you haven't seen Crybabies? I'm like, what's that? It's like a kindergarten girl said that. It was
the Johnny Depp movie?
No, Crybabies.
Oh, okay.
It's like, I don't know what it is. It's probably like something on like KidTube or something. I'm just like, what are you talking about? It's funny, like these things like kids just assume like everybody watches. Like, no, this is geared towards kids. Yeah, like I watch more other things.
This is for you. This is not for me.
Yeah, maybe I'll ask around and see if anyone's watched Lady and the Tramp.
Yeah, maybe you should try to show it to them one day or something and see how far you get into it. It just doesn't make any sense. It is like literally the definition of a cash grab remake, because like it's a movie about talking dogs. What? Why does that need to be live action? In what world does that need to be live action? Oh man, drives me crazy. Anyway.
Looks like the tea is just energized you. It didn't make you go sleepy at all.
I don't know why. I have energy.
Maybe I switched them because like I'm starting to feel a little tired.
Okay, well I don't have much else to talk about, so I'll turn this. I'll wind this down a little bit. This was surprising. I was surprised to hear this. Doing some research for this episode, that this movie was a big hit when it came out. I also forgot to mention, and this is very important and nerdy for me, but the aspect ratio of this movie. This was like Disney's first really widescreen movie. This was shot in CinemaScope, so the aspect ratio is super, super wide. They only did this with this movie and Sleeping Beauty, which came right after this. So yeah, CinemaScope was an effect that they incorporated to compete with television. Because, television was a square box.
Yes.
To get people to come to the movie theaters, we're going to give you something you've never seen before, so we're going to watch this super widescreen
Which is funny, because if you're not a movie person, people usually don't notice the aspect ratios of film.
Well, what's funny is that...
Maybe they did back then.
Yeah, well, what's funny is that we grew up watching this on VHS, and it would have been, like, panned and scanned when we watched this on VHS. So we watched a really truncated version of this.
Yeah, I remember there was always that preview in the beginning that says the following feature has been formatted to fit your TV.
Yes.
It's like a little...
Yes. So, I think this movie looks beautiful for sure. Like, the just how they, like, use the frame to have the characters and the scenery. Like, that's one thing that I think about when I think about this movie, is I think about the backgrounds. I think about the way it looks and the scenery and everything, and I think the widescreen really, like...
It does help.
Yeah, it accentuates that, I think, a lot, and really pretty. But okay, well, overall, final thoughts before we move on. Lady and the Tramp, how do you kind of feel about it?
I mean, it's a nice... It is a movie about animals, and it's pretty, but it's not really one that I'm...
It's no Pocahontas.
Like you said earlier, it's not something I'm going to just, like, want to revisit all the time either.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing really for me to latch on to and connect with.
No, I feel basically the same way. It's maybe because... I don't know if it's because I didn't watch it a ton growing up, or because it doesn't really connect with me much now as an adult, even as a dog owner. Yeah, but I think it's fine. I think it's cute. It's super, super short. Yes. So yeah, I'd show it to like our kids one day. Revisit it for sure. I think it's fine and delightful, but like, yeah, not one I super will talk about or revisit a lot.
Yeah. That's all we got, right? I'm stopping you before you go on another.
That's all we got. This is the night. Now we're going to go eat some spaghetti.
No, we're not. You can.